CJC presents WandA with my messy hair. Hair kind of looks like one of the hairstyles from the series we're going to talk about today. And today, I'm actually going to be ranking every single Yu-Gi-Oh video game that I've ever played. This is actually going to be like a podcast type of video, so you can play this, in the background, or you can watch it, because I'll try to include some gameplay clips of different games, or just screenshots, whatever your preference is. This video will be accompanied by several OSTs from the various games that I actually really enjoyed. Outside of the most recent console games, a lot of the Yu-Gi-Oh video games have a great soundtrack. However, I have not played every single video game, so this is a list of every game that I've not played. It's about 24. And then here's the list that I will be ranking. Oh, here we go. Here's a list that I will be ranking, which is about 18 titles in total. I don't necessarily have a desire to play the games I've missed out on. Some of these games, like the original Duel Monsters games, their gameplay revolves around the early prototype of the trading card game, which, quite frankly, I wasn't too big of a fan of. But I will say a game like Forbidden Memories, which I believe is the first console game for Yu-Gi-Oh, does seem interesting, but that's only on its story. Like, the story is really good. I'm also not a fan of RPGs, which is what the gameplay of Falsebound Kingdom is. And it's just to name a few reasons as to why I'm not going to play some of these games. So, with that being said, let's get on with my ranking, starting with my least favorite, number 18. That being Millennium Duels. This game offers nothing unique. It includes characters from the original series all the way to Zexal, about the Duel Carnival arc. But it does include Vector, which I'm confused why they want to include some of the other characters, but that's neither here or there. Let's just say Duel Carnival, and for some reason Vector. You can get some new character designs to represent you as your icon for online gameplay, but this game doesn't even retell the story or anything. Just dual scrubs in each series to get new cards, I guess, and a new character icon? This game doesn't even include all characters from their respective series. It makes no sense to me why Duke Devlin is in. We only had one duel, mind you, but someone like Yami Merrick or one of the rare hunters is not. Makes no sense. I don't know why. So character selection is extremely poor. The game's absolutely trash. Again, it offers nothing. It's just a complete basic card game to play. I mean, it's basically what it is, but in real life. But for a console game, that's just a waste of money. It's dumpster fire. Right now, the game sits at $9.99 USD on the PlayStation Store. But considering all the DLC that really should have just been in the game from the start, it comes to a price that's over $60. What a waste of money. At that point, you might as well just save up and play the real card game. So, number 17 is Ultimate Masters World Championship 2006. This game came out for the DS, and just like the previous game, offers absolutely nothing besides being able to play with your friends on the DS. That's it. All the opponents are monsters, not one character from the anime, and I mean, that's really off to say. Alright, so this one's actually pretty funny. Next up, number 16 on the list is Legacy of the Duelist. Yes, the game that I myself have done gameplay for on this channel. The only thing I've enjoyed about it is the online component. Every player I've come across shows a ton of respect, whether it be win or loss, but the game's main campaign is just a retelling of the story that we already know. And this is the same complaint most DBZ fans have with the video games also lies here in this game. Even incorporating the VAs into this game would have made it actually more exciting. The challenges are very bland after you're able to beat them all, and of course the DLC is problematic. Some of the archetypes and stories that should have already been in the game, but you have to get the DLC. Like, no one should have to spend money on TGs or masked heroes just to have a bland story to add. Although, Antinomi, I believe that's his name, versus Yusei, the second duel, is amazing. But seeing that as DLC for the game, I'm not too sure if it's worth it. Alright, so next up is Destiny Board Traveler. So this game was released for the Game Boy. I actually really like this game. This game offers a new gameplay, which is what I like, and even incorporates voice acting, even though it's in small bits. However, one of my biggest problems is the character pool. I don't think characters like the big five should be playable. No, I agree. However, why is someone like Kaiba Man, who, mind you, is a GX character here, but no Merrick, or hell, I wouldn't even mind Shoddy. A good chunk of the characters can be unlocked right from the start by pushing a combination of buttons, which is a problem because in total there are only 12 characters and you can unlock 8 of them right off the bat. I'm not too sure about that. It does get very repetitive, especially the latter half of the game. Like the first few stages, it's actually really interesting, but it does get repetitive once after a while. But the only upside is there are God cards. Yeah, okay, anyway. 14th. This is actually my very first Yu-Gi-Oh! Video game, and my hair keeps getting down. I don't know why. Anyway. And this is called The Eternal Duelist. But this has nothing to do with my thoughts on the game and why it's 14th. The aesthetic of the game is actually really nice. There's no banned lists, or rather, broken cards are just limited to 1 from my understanding and my experience. The God cards are in here, but they're not playable. They're like the collectible version. The only way for them to be playable is through like a Game Shark hack. So, if you want to hack your game, don't play the God cards in it. It's pretty broken. Go for it, man. You keep dueling players on the different stages for a certain amount until you unlock. Anyway, you keep dueling players on different stages until you get the next batch of duelists on the next stage. Stage 3 is actually where it gets really interesting, and that's where you unlock the rare hunters. This is from, you got strings, you got Rare Hunter, Pandora, the Umbral and Lewis, and then you got Merrick. So Umbral and Lewis, interesting, it actually just looped into one duelist, and you just alternate randomly. Pretty cool, honestly. On occasion, Rare Hunters will actually approach you at random, so if you go to hit the main campaign, just randomly get that event, which is actually pretty cool. And if you lose, you do have to abide by the anti-rules. So they'll take your rarest card. I remember I've lost one time, and they took like a God card. So just be mindful. Every weekend there's a tournament at Grandpa's shop, so where you do random duelists, like you can like Tristan to Yami Yugi. Of course, it's a best of 3 with the tournament. If you win, then you go to Sunday to play for like a winner take all for the weekend, I guess. And then once in a while, in the game calendar, there's a qualifier, and there's a World Championship. And then also you can get some like unique interactions with some characters, like Joey Wheeler, for example. But it does get very repetitive after a while. And all it really is dual characters from the original show. Your favorites. Alright, so the next game, or 2 games that I'm going to talk about, is one of the very first open world games that you can travel with your created character, I guess. So these next 2 games have very similar formats in terms of gameplay, and that is Sheaf of Destruction and the Sacred Cards. Both these games follow the gameplay being the prototype of the original card game, but decks have a point system. There's no ban list, but your cards can't be, have like 2 copies of Pot of Greed or something, because it's going to take up a lot of points. I don't remember the total point amount. I thought that was pretty interesting. It's very strategic, and the story is actually really dope too. There's a lot of thought process that goes into what you put in your deck in order for you to have, not a boss deck, but like go over the point value, if you know what I mean. I enjoyed the story of Sheaf of Destruction, much more to the Sacred Cards. I mean, Battle City is just beaten into us at a certain point. We just keep repeating the same story over and over again, and I understand that it is the best arc. I don't think that's subjective. I think I can objectively say it is the best arc in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! So I understand why they did that game again, or that storyline again for us players. But for Sheaf of Destruction, I did like it because it's an original story, but I just wish we got new characters. Because all it basically is characters up to the Battle City point, and you're getting, and it's a repeat of enemies from Duelist Kingdom. So Pegasus is the main villain, but he's possessed by a being called Rashif, so he gets renamed Sol Shevesky. Okay, just fucking Pegasus. Yeah, we don't really get new characters. Like, why? Ending was honestly really enjoyable, and I really never would have thought that to be happening. But again, yes, this has a new story, a unique story, but why are we including characters that no one really cares about? Like, we really should be getting new characters for a unique story. Like, you're a liar. If you liked Panic or Mimic of Doom, stop lying, bro. Stop lying, bro. Those characters are so annoying. I wouldn't even mind like a random like hooded character that was like, you know, some sort of priest or something to Rashif. So again, those games based on the prototype, but it was interesting for it being the first open world game, or one of the first few open world games that you can travel around. So coming in at number 11 is a Worldwide Edition, Stairway to the Destined Duel. The gameplay, of course, now we're going back to the actual card game of what the gameplay is based on, and not the prototype. This, to be quite honest, is a nice, simplistic game released for the Game Boy. I don't have much to add on this game, so we'll just move on to, finally, the top 10. So, cracking the top 10 list is GX Duel Academy. So, this mostly revolves around the first season of the GX anime. It offers something unique to the story. Of course, gameplay won't be different now, and for the rest of this list, mind you, so the rest is just based on the actual card game. Character interactions are unique. You're able to challenge characters, being able to call certain characters, but you're only really able to make a phone call to like 6 characters, being Jaden, or Judai, Cyrus, Sebastian, Manjome, what's the female's name? Alexis, I believe, and then you have Zane. So those 6. So through your time there, since you are a student, this is an interesting element to it. You'll have to take exams every now and then. So there's a written, there's like a multiple choice. You can just look up the answers on GameFAQ actually. And then there's a practical exam, but you have to meet like a certain requirement. So this might include dealing a certain amount of damage to the opponent, or activating a certain number of card types for a certain amount of time. So say like you need to activate 10 spells or 10 traps. And so it's super interesting. That's a new element that I wish, you know, more games would add. So let's get on to number 9. This is going to be Seven Trials of Glory World Championship 2005. So again, another game that evolves around Battle City, but no god cards. Not too sure why there. But this game is, of course, based on the current card game, and is another open world, and the graphics are actually really nice to look at. So it definitely is an extremely difficult too. Like some opponents actually can be super OP, and especially with one of the challenges, which is like a dual labyrinth, I believe. So number 8 is the Evolution, which becomes the starter for the best game series of Yu-Gi-Oh! This being GX Tag Force Evolution. This game was released for the PS2 and the PSP. Of course, the story revolves around the first season of GX with different perspectives. So if you decide to partner with Judai, Zane, whoever. And you can also partner up with the unique characters that they have in the game. And they have their own story, but it's mostly based on the tag tournament in the game. And since the main campaign revolves around tag dueling, so you can build a deck that complements your partner, and you can just make busted plays. But the only downside, really, to this game, and quite frankly all Tag Force games, is not being able to control your partner unless it's like unless it's like a dire situation, which they don't really install or make it a component of the game until the later games. Yeah, because sometimes they make questionable plays that can potentially risk the duel or just troll your opponent for no apparent reason. Alright, number 7 is 5D's World Championship 2009 Stardust Accelerator. This game's so much fun, and like a lot of the World Championship games, you can create your own character, change your clothes, dual disc hair, whatever the case might be. This is also the first of 3 games that includes riding duels, so you can customize your motorcycle to your liking, however you want it, how fast you want to go. This also includes being able to partake in racing challenges, which I actually enjoy, to be quite frank with you. Now, the riding duels are different in this game. It's just as simple as their tails, just determine who goes first. There's not racing to a certain point, but they installed that in a later game. What's interesting is the speed spell concept. Every turn, both players get counters on the playing field spell Speed World. So, first turn, we both get 1 counter. Second turn, we both get 2 counter. We both get another counter, so we would have 2 each, right? So certain spells require a certain amount of counters on the field spell. For example, Monster Reborn requires 10 counters. So there are also some in-game cards that are exclusive to the Speed Duel concept, which I actually really liked, and a couple of traps. So it adds an interesting element to the game, and then you're also able to have tag duels and turbo tag duels, which is interesting. Number 6, we are almost there to our top 5, but just missing out is actually World Championship 2008. I actually really enjoyed this game, and this was one of the first few DS games I've ever owned, so am I being biased here? I don't know, I don't think so. The main campaign revolves around you going to various spirit worlds and dueling against some of the different monsters, and then you have a World Championship mode which you can duel against monsters, but you can also duel anime characters from the original series all the way up to Season 3 GX. Ladies and gentlemen, we are finally here. My top 5 on every Yugi game that I've ever played. So, number 5 on the list is 5D's Tag Force 5. This game is extremely fun, also incorporating game original cards, which I always thought was an interesting concept. So these are cards that may have been first seen in the anime and not been officially released yet. So these cards included the Machine Emperor, whether it's Weisel and its 5 different parts, or even Slifer, because Slifer was not released yet. I will say the only downside, of course, is certain alternate arts and game original card pack to purchase in the store. So there are only 2 ways for you to get it. Way 1 is in the menu. You go to there's like an option for you to place the previous UMD for the other 4 games, and when I got it, I want to say I got it when the first game came out. So what was that 2010, 2011? I didn't have the previous 4 games, so that was difficult. And then in order to get the card pack, the original game card pack in the game, you had to do 80% of the challenges, which was, I want to say it was about 140 challenges out of like 163. Ridiculous. So you couldn't even get like an alternate art. I know I mentioned alternate art before. You can't get alternate art Dark Magician until you do the UMD, or actually no, you can only get alternate art Dark Magician unless you do UMD, which is ridiculous, quite frankly. Number 4, arguably one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh games ever, and that's Nightmare Troubadour. So this game is mostly iconic for the God card effects, being as close to the anime as possible without making them broken. Of course, this game revolves around duelists from Duelist Kingdom to Battle City, and even the virtual world filler arc involving Noah and Gozaburo. Unfortunately, the only downside is you can't hold all 3 God cards at once. So post-game, you'll be able to trade with regular Merrick to be able to hold Raw, because you're only going to be able to use Slifer and Obelisk. Only way for you to get Raw is to trade with Merrick. Or unless you want to use all 3, then you gotta use like a Game Shark hack or something along those lines. Taking the bronze medal, we have 5D's World Championship 2011 over the Nexus. I love this game. Unfortunately, this was the last World Championship game. I mean, unless you want to consider Duel Carnival as a World Championship game, I guess. The driving of the motorcycle has improved a lot, the handling's great, the stages are great. The field, Speed World 2, so much better than Speed World 1. The game follows the events right after Earthbound the Mortal Arc, right into the battle before Aporia. So riding duels have more speed spell cards and traps, more upgraded stuff. However, my biggest problem, of course, is the game original cards. I think a lot of the Yu-Gi-Oh games should have game originals, that's just my personal opinion, because towards the end, this is a slight spoiler, but towards the end, you're able to access like stone tablets and you get your own like cards, but all that is Trishula. It's a great card, but you can probably get that in the game already. The level 10 Synchro, Trident Dragon, I believe, and then Ally Caster of Destruction, the 10-star Synchro. I might have a picture up here, but when I got those 3 cards, I was so disappointed. This would have been number 1, probably number 2, honestly, but it's really the only reason why it takes the bronze, quite frankly. Number 2! Yes, number 2. That's number 4. Number 2, this game was the last of the franchise, and for some odd reason, never got released in the West, and that is Arc 5 Tag Force Special. This, of course, follows the same format of all previous Tag Force games, except you don't have to interact with characters to get a partner, which I like so much better. So in the main campaign of Tag Force games, you have to like interact with let's just go Yusei, for example. You have to do like a mini game with Yusei to get his heart up in order for him to be a partner. You gotta give him items and stuff. You don't need to do that. It cuts all that out, thankfully, because that was so annoying. You just partner up with 5 characters from each series, being from the original Duel Monsters all the way to Arc 5. And each character has their voice actors, except ahem or Yami Yugi. I believe the original VA was having like a contract dispute, something along those lines. They had a different VA, but the VA was fine, phenomenal. Did a great job. To progress the story, each character's story, all you had to do was duel, which I loved. I prefer that. And of course, like I said, the voice act is phenomenal. If you were unaware, if you only played the American versions of the Tag Force games, all the Asian releases have the voices of the show in the game. I don't know why we never got that in the US. Like, I actually like the 5D dub, so I'm not sure why that wasn't in the game. The character choices are questionable though. Like, I don't know why someone like Mai is available for a partner, or the Yusenju guy. I don't remember his name. Every dimension has their own tournaments, and Dark Tournament, which is like a great way to farm for DP and gain hardware your play. You can also play against strong tag duelists, broken decks with ban cards. Grandpa Moto, he does not play, bro. His Exodia deck, oh, that's nuts. And you can even duel against the past World Championship decks from 2009 up to 2014. The soundtrack, absolutely phenomenal. And my number 1 game, that's 2. My number 1 game, taking home the gold, is 5D's World Championship 2010, Reverse of Arcadia. I truly love this game. In terms of gameplay mechanics, with 2011, it's very similar, except, 2011 has slight improvements in dual handling, but what's better? What makes this game so great? And finally, I think as 5D's fanbase, what we've always wanted was a more in-depth look into the Arcadia movement, which is what the first half of this game is. Your created character is a part of the Arcadia movement, and then it's up to you to break out. Like, it's so interesting. And then that's not all. The second half of the game is the Darksiders arc. This game's so long, but not in a bad way at all. It's so enjoyable. Of course, this is the first game to incorporate Speed World 2. I've already talked about it already, so I'm not going to get too in-depth with it. The downside I can only find is the final writing stage, which the turns for that are ridiculous. Ridiculous. So that's why I, like I said earlier, for 2011, over the Nexus, I believe, right? Over the Nexus. The reason why the writing is so improved because the turns are realistic. Like the turn on this stage, the tightest turns. But I will say, the handling of the motorcycles is so smooth, and just the smoothest out of the three. But the final riding stage, that's the only downside, quite frankly. And that's it. That takes us to the end of the video. So here's a recap of everything that I picked, and then let me know what your thoughts are, and rank your favorite games down in the comment section below. I'll see you there and in the next video. Oh, before I go, the next video or two, I'm actually going to do a discussion video on how Konami can make the perfect Yugi game. Stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.